Well, I mean, actors tend to say, "Oh, it's much more fun to play the bad guy because they're so, it's so juicier, and you get to, do all the things that you're not allowed to do and that kind of stuff." And in a way, in some ways, what I tried to do with Martin Whitley and Prodigal Son was kind of exploit that, because I don't think there is anything. I mean, it depends on what the kind of genre is that you're doing, I suppose. And there are certain characters, like, for instance, like the character I played in Doolittle, who is such a kind of stock villain that you have to kind of enjoy that and be exuberant about that and play the kind of ridiculousness of it. But then if you're playing someone who is genuinely doing terrible things, it shouldn't be that they're fun, because they're horrible. They're doing awful things. And what I liked about playing Martin Whitley was being able to play someone who exploits that themselves. He's a monster, and he's done terrible things to people for a long time, but he somehow manages to make you feel, oh, he's just a nice guy, really, and he's funny, and he's cuddly, and look at his lovely cardigan, and then he's killing you. And that, of course, is brilliant for him. It's a great kind of tactic. It's a great sort of disguise. It's like that. I used to think about, that fish that's really ugly and has horrible teeth, and then has a kind of light hanging on it. You see that?
Angular.
I used to think of Martin being a bit like that. So the light is him being all kind of like, hey, I'm a great person to hang out with, and I'm really fun. And then he just eats you. So I like that kind of aspect of it. And I am fascinated by people who cross a line, who cross the line of civilization, that we all essentially agree to live in certain ways and do certain things, and that's how we get along, and that's how we keep going. And then there are some people who cross that line. And I think we all are fascinated by that, because in the same way as, fairy tales are about the big bad wolf, because the wolf used to come and eat us. And so, of course, we're fascinated by it and tell stories about it. And I think it's a similar thing with bad guys, But I mean, for instance, like the part that David played of Des recently, playing Dennis Nielsen, the kind of utter blankness of him and the kind of banality of evil, I think is truly terrifying. The kind of campy, over-the-top bad guy is really enjoyable to watch, but there's something much more fascinating about people who have crossed that line, I think.